So this is pretty interesting little clip by Joe Rogan talking about healthcare, and take a listen and look for yourself. But to me, definitely sounds like he's in favor of Medicare for all.
I think that this idea that everybody should have health care, it's a great idea. Who the fuck wants people to not be healthy? Who wants people to be hurt and not be able to fix it? Are you really saying that struggling people should have to pay exorbitant amounts of money to get fixed when we could maybe chip in and help members of our team? That's stupid. Fill it out. Figure it out yourself. I had to. You got lucky, bitch. You got lucky you don't have leukemia. You didn't break both your legs when you were 18. Your parents are dead. You got lucky, piece of shit.
I mean, it's hard to argue with the logic that he's using there, because basically it is luck if you develop, things like cancer or these other sicknesses or long-term illnesses, and all these other things, or you get really sick, you lose your job, you lose your health care, you go bankrupt. Because let's understand this. Basically every other developed world, every every other developed country in the world, I should say, has a Medicare for all system, has universal health care in some form or fashion. And you know what? People in the United States pay more for health care than any other country in the world, yet we have these horrible health indicators. There's 30 to 45,000 people that die each year because they don't have access to health insurance. Think about that. That's basically, a sports stadium filled with people that die each year because they don't have access to healthcare. That is just sick and disgusting. That's why Medicare should be, or why healthcare should be viewed as a human right. And the only candidate that stands up and really believes that is Bernie Sanders. One of the huge reasons I'm supporting Bernie is because he's so clear and consistent with his support for Medicare for all, and he's been unwavering in that for decades. And it's like, exactly, Joe Rogan's got it right. We can all chip in a little bit to make sure a football stadium full of people isn't dying each year because they don't have access to health care. And you know what? We'll save people money. So look, we're doing the right thing from a moral and ethical perspective. We're not letting people die. Think about that. People are literally dying because they can't go see a doctor, like because of our sick and corrupt for-profit healthcare system that puts money above people's lives. And there's also, we have around 500,000 people each year in the United States that go bankrupt because they don't have, or because of medical bills. Guess what? That goes away under a Medicare for all system. And also, Bernie Sanders is the only candidate who's advocating canceling all medical debt, which is awesome. It shouldn't exist in the first place. Again, we switch to Medicare for all system, we won't have literally tens of thousands of people dying because they can't afford or get access to health care. We won't have 500,000 people going bankrupt each year. We'll be saving money and having these better health outcomes. We'll be catching up with the rest of the world that came to their senses a long time ago on this issue. But our political system in the U.S. is so corrupt, and in this case infected with the money of the health insurance lobby and the pharmaceutical companies and lobby, that a vast majority of the American people want a Medicare for all style system, want a universal healthcare system, but the politicians doing the, aren't aren't enacting the will of the people. They're enacting the will of the corporations, because our political system is so wonky here in the United States. But that's why it's important to support candidates who really believe and will fight for Medicare for all, especially the presidency, but on the congressional level, the state level, city level, etc. And for president, again, it's Bernie Sanders is the only choice, and the points that Joe Rogan are making are totally on point. I mean, if you're lucky if you don't develop one of these long-term illnesses or diseases, or you get some type of drastic injury like he was talking about, the breaking the both your legs when you're 18 and your parents are dead. It's like it's a crapshoot. It could happen to anybody, and unless you are, extremely wealthy, then you're in the position of potentially, going bankrupt at some point because of medical debt, and that wouldn't happen under a Medicare for all system, and just makes sense ethically from a moral perspective. It's just insane. We live on the wealthiest country on the face of the world has ever seen, and yet we can't guarantee health care to everybody, resulting in tens of thousands of people dying each year, even though the rest of the world has been doing this pretty successfully for decades. And it makes sense from a fiscal sense. We'd be saving a lot of money, which if you're like one of those fiscally conservative people, or you at least claim to be, then why would you not be, all aboard the Medicare for all train when it saves the taxpayer money, which, Republicans and conservative politicians like to talk on and on about, saving money. Medicare for all system would save money, so it makes sense there. And I don't know. Yeah, totally agree with Joe Rogan. It's time to everybody pitch in a little bit. We'd be saving money, and there wouldn't be people dying out there because they don't have health care, which is just nuts.